Hey guys, and welcome to the very first video of the Unbroken Pelvis channel. My name is Keith, and I hope this channel brings you some of the answers that you're looking for. But first, a disclaimer. Basically, I'm not a doctor, and the only license that I have is my driver's license. So take what I say with a grain of salt and always consult with your medical professional. So if you found your way here, you probably already know that the internet is full of horror stories of folks suffering from pelvic floor dysfunction, also known as chronic pelvic pain syndrome, levator-ani syndrome, pudendal neuralgia, interstitial cystitis, bladder pain syndrome. The list goes on and on. Now, anyone dealing with these symptoms can be easily overwhelmed with tons of fear. So much confusion about where to seek treatment, what type of doctor do I need to go to, what kind of test do I need to have run. One may be terrified that they have an incurable condition, and that the rest of their life is going to be greatly impacted, if not totally ruined. Many find themselves going from doctor to doctor to doctor and specialist to specialist, looking for answers only to find themselves stuck, living with chronic pain. And I'm speaking from very personal experiences here. Let's face it, pelvic floor dysfunction is a terrible condition that can affect the most, intimate parts of the human body. Genital pain, rectal pain, which can range from the mundane and annoying all the way up to constant and excruciating chronic pain. Even worse, if you're affected by genital numbness or the loss of the ability to properly use your genitalia, I'm talking about erectile dysfunction, hard flaccid. It can be crushing. There's a ton of other symptoms as well, like difficulty urinating, uterine bladder pain, urgency, frequency, weakened stream, post-urine dribble. And then there's the thin stools, the constipation, and that constant rectal, swollen prostate fullness feeling. So what's causing this? Do I have cancer?
It's not a tumor.
Will it get worse? Is this nerve damage? Is the nerve damage permanent? How does one even begin to recover from this? These are all the questions that I was desperately seeking the answers to. And if you clicked on this video, I bet you are too. My personal experience in treating my own pelvic floor dysfunction left me in limbo. The doctors were essentially clueless. Blood work came back fine. Scans came back fine. I was eventually referred to a pelvic floor physical therapist who told me that my case was just too severe and out of her scope after a few visits. She then referred me to another specialist for nerve blocks, which after a couple of rounds I was unable to tolerate because the steroids in them wreaked havoc on my immune system. Another specialist I went to told me that my only other option was to have a permanent nerve stimulator permanently implanted in my spine. Well, after not being able to sit for 8 months straight, I was pretty desperate, and honestly, I was considering getting this. Researching it online, of course, only led me to more questions than answers. I mean, I knew that at this point, I didn't have a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
And I didn't have an infection.
Probably just an infection.
Counselor, it's not actually an infection.
But why was I still in constant pain? And why couldn't I sit? Why couldn't I properly use the restroom? And why were my man parts going numb? Frankly, things were just getting worse. I was at the end of my rope. The internet, of course, was full of stories of folks in very similar situations. Many were talking about self-harm, and while I never would have thought of that before, honestly, in some of my darkest moments of pain and fear, I could relate. Furthermore, the internet articles that I would read mostly tailored to women, which was very frustrating. While many sites did mention men in passing, there seemed to be very limited resources for us guys. And that's why I made this channel. While anyone, of course, is welcome to watch here, I want to be a beacon of light for the men who are suffering right now. Most of the topics I plan to cover are related to either gender, but I'll be speaking from my own uniquely male personal experiences. Now, let me say this. Whoever you are not alone. There is hope. I recovered from pelvic floor dysfunction, and I've met and worked with several guys who have as well. I believe that there's hope for you too. I know you might be scared, terrified. I want to tell you that your symptoms can improve. And speaking from my own personal experiences and, of course, backed by scientific data, nerves can and do heal. In many cases, once you rule out all the bad stuff, I am talking tumors here, or infections, good to get those things checked out. Pelvic floor dysfunction can be caused by musculoskeletal tensing of the pelvic floor. This is called hypertonicity, and you're going to hear me use that word a ton on this channel. So what causes hypertonicity in the pelvis? It can be a huge list of factors, mostly core and glute weakness and instability. Being sedentary, having microtrauma to your pelvis or to the tailbone from sitting too much for work, playing video games, or even riding a bicycle. Maybe there was an injury to the genitals at one point in your life. Then, of course, there's stress and emotional trauma, which can be huge factors as well. The body trains itself to subconsciously guard in the pelvic floor when other structures are not doing their job. This is important. The worst part about pelvic floor hypertonicity is that it is a vicious and self-repeating cycle. You see, what happens is the muscles in the pelvis go on lockdown, and this can cause compression of the nerves and blood flow to the genitals and to the bowels. This, of course, causes pain and numbness, which perpetuates the cycle. What does the brain do in response to pain? Well, the muscles lock down even more. And so there's more nerve compression that is viciously repeating itself over and over. You add the stress that's caused by all of it, and again, everything just gets magnified even more. The good news is this. If your pelvic floor is hypertonic due to a musculoskeletal imbalance, simply correcting these imbalances will help decompress the muscle hypertonicity, allowing space for the nerves to heal and the blood to flow. And even if it's from stress or made worse by stress, while you can't control the source of every stressor in your life, you can control how your body responds to that stress. This takes time, of course, but recovery is not only plausible, it's likely. Our bodies were created to heal. And while every body is different, if your skin still heals after you get a cut, your nerves can heal too. As I mentioned, I've been able to fully recover from my pelvic floor dysfunction. And I'll cover exactly how I did this and a variety of other topics in my upcoming videos. But for now, I'd like to invite you to check out the rest of the videos on my channel, including my full story, which I'll be sharing soon, which includes a list of all of the symptoms that I dealt with and the steps that I took toward recovery. If you like this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.